All right, buddy. I'm Johnny Scoville, and this is After the Burn. Man, I'll tell you what, I'm really excited about tonight. Tonight is just thrilled. I'm a small YouTuber, and I'm busy. The Ron Thal is who we're going to be interviewing today. He is Bumblefoot. That's his nickname, and we're going to be interviewing him. And for those who don't know. Just to give you a little bit of history, he was one of the lead guitarists for Guns N' Roses from 2006 to 2014. He performed on their studio album Chinese Democracy, but he was a guitarist. He's the guitarist now of the Supergroup, Sons of Apollo. Just a beast. They're like, before I bring him in, like I'm trying to, I don't want to just dump too much stuff on, but in my mind, like there are guitarists, and then there are like virtuosos, and this man really is. I mean, he's just on a different level. Like in my mind, the greatest guitarists alive right now are Paul Gilbert, Buckethead, Guthrie Govan. There's some, and I'm telling you, Ron Thal is there. But the craziest thing is he's the greatest gentleman. He's the most real guy you're ever going to meet. I'm going to bring him on right now. All right. Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. How you doing, bro?
Good. It's great to see you again.
It's good to see you. Hey, listen, we talked briefly just for a moment in the studio before we came on, and I know I thanked you, but I got to thank you publicly. I know that you are a busy dude.
No, that's cool, man. Thank you.
I'm thrilled.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So for those, real quickly, greatest fanboy day. I've met some cool people.
How's yours doing?
I have it tied up. It's down. You know what?
It's the same thing. Like normally we have similar beards that are all braided and
and
when you're like I keep this thing in like a beard bun.
That's what I got. You have a unique one. You had it looked like some fabric or something, like a strand of cloth in your beard.
There you go. That's what we're talking about.
I'm getting ready to hack it down a little bit because it's so bloody long. But when we met at Zest Fest, that was so cool for me. I said this on. I talked about it on the channel before, but that was the first day we were filming for Super Hots. It was just a trip to meet you there. And what blew me away was how real you are. I don't want to throw too much, dump too much on you, but listen, what you are is you were like so real to me. And you're like a wonderful example of how to, because like I have a small YouTube channel and I'm struggling sometimes to deal with it. Just growing and people recognizing me and stuff like that. How do you deal with what you're doing? I mean, I don't understand how you do it. You just are the example, though, of how to be a humble, kind. Everybody that you walked by and said your name, you stopped and talked to them. You just, it was a class act. Let me show you a couple cool pictures, you guys. This is where I met Ron at Zest Fest.
Yeah.
He had that's a double neck that he plays. He's like, put it on. He's got it right there. No way.
Same one.
So cool. Same one. So anyway, he says, put it on. Let's get a picture. So I did. And then we had a bunch of people with beards there with goatees. So we got a great goatee photo, which I thought was cool. And
nice.
Just the highlight moment for me was, though, that he said, sit down, play it. You remember that? He said, play it. So I sat down on a stool and played the guitar. And I was playing on the lower neck. I can't do it fretless. And you came in behind me and played on the upper neck. And I almost had a stroke. It was one of the great moments. Listen, honest to God, that was such a heavy moment for me.
But this is what we're there for. Like, if you don't want to be social, don't go to a convention.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. And listen, I'm not a rock star.
Yes, you are. Look at that.
I fake it, but there's that. You really, really are. And so it's just a thrill to have you here. It was so cool to meet you initially, and it's really cool to spend this time.
No, absolutely.
I got a bunch of great questions, and we're going to dive in. We're going to talk about your music, and we're going to talk about hot sauce for sure. But to start it off, I can't imagine the stages you played and where you played around the world. What is the most surreal moment that you had on stage, and how did you handle it?
There were a few. There was when I played Madison Square Garden, 2006, because the very first concert I saw was Kiss at Madison Square Garden, 1979, the Dynasty Tour.
No way.
Yeah, and still the best concert I ever saw. So
Great band.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just pure rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
You know what was funny? I was just playing right before we started this, about a half hour ago. I was playing God of Thunder. I was working on.
Oh damn! Nice. God of Thunder. Yes. I'm not tuned right for it, but. Yeah. Oh, we could spend hours on that stuff.
Oh man, that's such a great song. Thank you for doing that. I wasn't, you know, I thought to myself, do I ask him to pull a guitar and play something? That's such a great tune, and you play that so well. Holy moly!
It's when you're a Kiss fan since you're a child. It's in your blood. It's in your DNA. You don't even have to think about it. You just know it is part of you. That stuff and all kinds of music that you grew up with. It's just in you. It's part of you. So here's the thing now. In 1975, when Kiss Alive came out, that is what made me want to become a musician.
Really?
During that album, I was 5 years old. And I heard it. And like I just moved from Brooklyn to Staten Island, the boroughs in New York City. And this neighborhood had all these kids my age that all had older brothers and sisters that were at the age of buying albums and everything. So I would go over their house and there would just be, you know, vinyl. There would be album covers everywhere, all over the place, on the floor, in the living room, on the table. So we would just pick things up, these big pieces of art, and be like, oh, what's this? This looks interesting. And we would go to a turntable and we would put something on and we would just stare at the speakers and listen.
So did you play along a lot? Did you kind of pick things out and play along with stuff? That's kind of how you did
at that point, I was just a 5-year-old kid. So music was just a new experience. It was something new. I had nothing, you know. So it was Kiss Alive. I heard it, and something about that album, it's like, this is what I want to do with my life.
You knew it.
Yeah, so by the time I was 6, I had a band. And we were writing songs and we were making demos using just our cassette recorder in the corner of the room. And then we would record the music on that, play it back, record on this one and sing along. So now we had the music and the vocals on this one and figured out how to overdub that way. And would play concerts in the neighborhood and do everything.
Hold on. Did someone teach you lessons? Did you have lessons? Or
at 7, started taking lessons. Before that, it was just, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. And then started learning and studied the academics, all music theory and jazz and classical and all that stuff. But it was all about being in a band. That's where my heart was at. Like, I wanted to be in a rock band. I wanted to do it. All my heroes, all my inspirations, all the things that made me feel amazing in life. And it was music that was doing that. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make people feel as good as this is making me feel. And I just spent the rest of my life working towards it, just slowly just crawling up the muddy hill, trying to, you know, just doing it. And first concert I saw was Kiss, 1979, Madison Square Garden. So when I finally played Madison Square Garden, oh, I should mention one more thing. When we did concerts as little kids, I would spend the day, show day, where I would take pieces of paper and I would cut them up into tiny little slivers, and I would make cups of confetti. So when all the neighbors came to watch the show, I would pass out the cups, and on the last song, I would cue them, and they would throw confetti in the air. So
you've always been a rock star. But it's crazy. How many people do you know that knew at 5 what they wanted to do and went out and did it? That's awesome.
I was an old soul. I don't know.
I ever asked you, how old are you, if I can ask that?
55.
Wow.
Yeah, born in 69. So I was 5, just turning 6, about to turn 6 when that album came out. So here's the thing now. Now I'm playing Madison Square Garden. It's like, oh my God, this is where I saw the show. This is everything. So what I did for my guitar solo in that show is I did Ace Frehley's Kiss Alive. And I did his solo. and just the whole thing. And then at the end of the show, we had these confetti cannons that would shoot all this confetti into the audience. And I was just laughing and thinking to myself, I'm glad I didn't have to cut up the confetti this time, you know?
Right.
But it's just so funny how it's like 30, almost, yeah, exactly 30 years later from when I was doing those shows as a kid and listening to Kiss in like 1976, when I had a band and started doing shows and making confetti, seeing the first concert, and then 30 years later, seeing that band that inspired me to do it all, being on that stage and doing the confetti. And I'm just thinking to myself, all right, went from cutting it up myself in little cups to confetti cannons. And it's like,
the full circle.
that was a surreal thing.
That's crazy. That's insane. You savor every moment of it, man. So you really enjoy the performing part of it, clearly.
Honestly, it's probably what I enjoy least out of everything. I enjoy everything so much more. Like I enjoy being in the studio, creating, collaborating with people. I love teaching because if people didn't teach me, I wouldn't be able to do it. So when I'm able to teach somebody and then you see them go out and do it, it's the greatest feeling. I think it may feel better than doing it yourself. Wow. When you feel like you've just like helped that happen to more people and done something for this world that's not just about yourself, you know?
It's a ripple that keeps going.
Yeah, because they do the same thing.
Right.
And yeah. So
the cool thing is you never know how many people you've inspired. You never even know. You won't ever know on this side of eternity, but you think of the people. I mean, how many times have people come up and said to you, you inspired me? I mean,
that's what keeps you going. Every time you're worn out and you're burned out and you're like, screw this. And then somebody reminds you why you do what you do. And it just cleanses your soul. And it's like, oh yeah, that's why.
That's right. That's right. Hey, listen, before we go any further, guys, if everybody could do me a favor and like this stream and share it out and see if we can get some more people in this. I have a question. Since you brought up studio, Ron, let me ask you, if you could you walk me through your songwriting process, kind of how it goes?
It's always different. I compare it to baking a cake. What I should do is I should compare it to making hot sauce. In the end, a song is this. It is your final bottle with the label on it and everything all there. But how does it begin? It could begin in any possible way. You could think of the name of a sauce and then you think of a recipe to match it. It could be
even think of a label.
Yeah. It could be an image. It could be the flavor. Hopefully it's the flavor. And what goes into the pot first? Is it the blueberries? Is it the dark chocolate? Is it the peppers? Is it the vinegar? Is it like, it could be any of those things that started off. And in the end, it turns into this. It's the same with a song. It could be a melody. It could be a feeling. It could be a drum groove. It could be a title. It could be a guitar sound, anything. And it just goes in and you add everything to it. And in the end, it's a song. So most of the time, my songwriting process, I'll be driving and I just start humming something. It just pops in my head. And I grab my phone. I'm like, song idea number 10,372. You know, and then I forget I did that. And a month later, I'm looking through my phone and I find it and I hear it back. I can't make heads or tails out of what that is. I don't know. It meant something at the time. Now it's just, you know.
I do that. I leave myself notes a lot, or I'll text myself something and I'll read my text. And I'm telling you, you could send it to the boys at Quantico and nobody will be able to decipher it. I wrote it. I'm looking at it going, what the hell does that mean?
Same thing. It meant something at the time. At that moment, it meant something. It was like some code that you understood.
Totally.
But the time is gone, and yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I don't know how to read music, and I don't know how to write. I can read tablature, obviously, but I don't know how to write or read music. So in the past, I've written a lot of songs. I remember I moved once, and I found like 150 songs I'd written. All there are now is poetry, because I don't remember any of the music that went with it. So what I've adopted lately is I'll just set up a tripod. And once I get a riff or an idea, I'll just play it and record it and then upload it somewhere. And I have a file of all the stuff that I'm working on. And I forget about stuff all the time. And I'll go back and I look at some stuff I played. I'm like, I don't even remember playing that. It's weird, but I can't even decipher my own stuff sometimes.
But that's the best way to do it. If you could doing that, videoing yourself so that you can hear it and see it. You don't have to sort of try and decipher it Yeah.
How many other instruments do you play? Is it just guitar, or do you play others?
The answer I like to give is I can play every single instrument there is. I just suck at all of them.
Well, that's how
I'm
I
a
am with
horrible
guitar.
drummer. I can pretty much do okay on bass. Keyboards is like doom 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 boom doom doom like that. Violin, you'll want to shoot me, is just, you know. I can play cello. That I can play. Horn instrument, like horns and brass, and I used to be able to play the flute a little bit because I was really into Jethro Tull, so I wanted to learn how to play the flute.
Jethro Tull is great.
Yeah. So I just, my goal was to get down the whole Aqualung album, to get that.
What an album that is. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. All right. So what was the biggest risk as a musician you've ever taken, and was it worth it?
Oh, God. There are so many, big and small. I mean, the biggest risk that a musician takes is when they really fully leap into it and sacrifice the secure, safer life. And they don't know if they're going to be able to eat. They don't know if they're going to be able to take care of themselves or anybody else. And they don't know for how long, if they can, how long they'll be able to. Right. So what I did is I didn't really think about it. I looked at it like this. It's like, whatever I learn, I'm going to share. And if the world values it, it'll somehow in the end work out. So when I was making those recordings at 6, 7 years old with the tape recorders, eventually that became having a cassette recorder and a little mixing board, and that became a reel-to-reel, and then it became ADATs and all kinds of stuff. And anytime I recorded, I learned something new from it. Every time I recorded something. And it got better as time went on. So I started recording other people. When I learned enough about music theory and technique and all that stuff, after about 7 years of it, I started teaching what I was taught. When I was going out and doing gigs and I was playing guitar, sometimes I would play guitar with other people and instead of just my own band and play with them. All the recording I was doing, I was bringing people into the studio and started working with them. Like anything that I was doing, I wasn't just doing it for myself. I was doing it for others just as they did for me. So with that, over decades, it just slowly, it's like branches of a tree that you're taking good care of. And each branch grows more and more. So like the teaching went from teaching in mom's basement to teaching at a friend's music store, to teaching at the Samash Music Institute, to running the entire music department of a private school, to becoming an adjunct professor at SUNY Purchase College in New York State, teaching music production. And over decades, it built up. The guitar stuff, just playing in the basement with my little band and in the backyard, and then the school. And then, in the 80s, when you could get into a bar with a puberty mustache and no one checked ID, started playing bars when I was like 14. And that kept on going and going. And then next thing you know, like the places you're playing aren't just, in your city, it's in the state, and then more and more. And next thing you know, it's like getting into touring. And then someone else asks you, hey, do you want to tour with us, be our guitar player for this tour? I was like, sure. And next thing you know, you're playing with other bands. Right. The songwriting that led to doing stuff, not just for my own albums and working with other people, but then it became about writing for TV shows and video games and horror movies. Yeah. That's so right. Like every day I would hear my music on TV, and like seriously every day, like I would put on MTV and one of the shows like Road Rules or Clone High or the Osbournes or Hogan Knows Best or whatever it was, Pimp My Ride, and I would hear my music on these shows every day. Nobody knew who I was. I wasn't on the radio. I wasn't, a rock star or anything like that, but I was pretty happy because every day my music was out there providing service to humanity in some kind of way. So that was good. And I knew that my music is kind of weird. It doesn't belong on radio. It doesn't fit the format, but it's great for TV shows and for video games. I did one of the first video game soundtracks when they became CD-ROM games in 1995. It was a Sega game called Wild Woody, this weird-ass game. Yeah, and it was right at the beginning when everything went from just 8-bit into 16-bit actual audio, where you could have real music, actual recordings in video games. So everything that I was doing was slowly building up, building up, building up. You know the show, That Metal Show?
Yep.
Yeah, I did the theme song. That's
For real.
yeah, yeah. That it was. Yeah, yeah.
That's
On the
funny. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. So you're
Oh,
constantly
I know.
busy. I mean, you work 7 days a week. I mean, it's fun, so you don't have to see it as work.
Yeah, just constantly. I wasn't touring a lot back in the beginning.
Do you enjoy
So,
touring?
You make the best of it when you're doing it. Yeah, like here's the thing. It's when I'm not touring, I could do everything else that can be done. When I'm touring, I can't be in the studio. I can't be teaching. I can't be producing. I can't be doing pretty much everything else. So I tend to miss that. But when you're touring, you pretty much have to let it all go and say, okay, that was civilian life. This is this life. And you just shift gears, and now your purpose, is you get the day sheet. All right, lobby call this time. We go here, we do that, sound check, meet and greet, dinner, show, after show food, another meet and greet, bus leaves at this time. And yeah, your day is regimented, and you're just, you're given a purpose, and you're just doing your thing, and you just go day to day and do what you're there to do. And yeah, after a while, that becomes who you are very quickly, actually very quickly. Usually on the plane ride to start it, it's like, okay, my other life is no longer there, and this is who I am now. And you're just in that mindset, and you do your thing. And then when it's done, you get home, and it used to be where it's like, I don't know what to do with my time. And it's like, where's my day sheet? I have to make decisions for myself. I don't know how. And so what I used to do is, as soon as I would get home, I would immediately, I wouldn't even unpack my suitcase. I would do something like installing recessed lighting in the living room or something like that for like 2 days. Just something to focus on at home, where I don't have to think about anything else, just that. And when I finish that project, it's like, okay, I'm home. I'm back. And yeah.
Well, it's interesting because music is, from a business point of view, music has changed so much. Like they used to make money selling albums.
Well, somebody made money selling albums. The way the record company, they loaned you at like a 900% interest rate, the money to go into the studio, which now you could do on your laptop. But at the time, it was a lot of money and a lot of everything. Everything was very expensive. So all the numbers had a couple of extra zeros on them. So the label gives you $500,000. Sounds like a lot of money. But by the time you're done with the studio and paying the engineer and the producer and all the expenses that are incurred to go along with it and everything, there's not very much there. You don't really get to put anything in your pocket, and you owe that money back.
Wow.
So now you have to work it off.
That's an advance?
Yeah, that's how it used to be. So now you have to pay it all back. And you do that through record sales and through whatever else you can do that's going to incur the money to pay it back. And it was record sales was the main thing. If you had a bad deal and they owned a piece of your publishing, then any radio play, they'd be getting a cut instead of the songwriters or the publishing administrators and all of that. I mean, it's a very complicated, convoluted thing, but it all has to get paid back. And the way the labels used to do it is, let's say they sold $500,000 worth of albums. They wouldn't say, okay, you're paid off. they would say, well, you were getting $1 out of $10. So out of this $500,000, you only really paid us back $50,000, and you owe us the other $9 per album. And there was a lot of things that went on. Plus, you only get paid on 90% of the albums because they assume that 10% are going to break as they're delivered to the record stores. And there was all kinds of stuff in there.
Wow.
And then your manager that's taking care of everything for you, he's getting 15 or 20%. And he gets it, maybe if you have a bad deal, he's getting it gross and not net. He's not in the trenches with you. So he's sitting back collecting money while you're out there working hard and yeah. So everyone could work out bad deals for you. And if they're getting gross receipts and not net, they're not on the team. They're not in the trenches with you. So it doesn't matter to them. So there's a lot of bad managers that would just send you off to do your thing, and they're making way more money than any band members are. Pretty much just not doing a lot. Just saying, oh, this person called. Oh, okay, call them back.
A secretary can handle that, like a receptionist.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff. These days it's different. It's more about a direct relationship with the people who like your music or want your music. So it's very direct between you and them, which is good. And
social media plays a huge role in that, I would imagine.
Yeah, the doors are open, the walls are down, and everybody. There's a lot of people.
Very accessible. You're a very accessible dude. If you leave comments, you comment back constantly. You're very interactive with your followers. On Instagram, I've noticed that a lot. That's a cool thing.
Yeah. As long as I have time, if I'm on if I'm flying multiple flights for 25 hours, they're gonna pile up, and I'm gonna miss a few. It's tricky. I get a couple of hundred messages a day easily between emails and texts and WhatsApp and social media and everything. And so traveling gets a little tricky to keep up with it. If I'm in the studio all day, I could, take a break every once in a while from, if I'm mixing something, just clear my brain for a minute and just answer some messages and do all of that. But it's a lot tougher when you're traveling because say you fly for 10 hours, you got to sleep at some point. And if your day is completely full doing tour stuff, from the minute you wake up to there's no time. So for a lot of people, they can't answer the messages. I'm sure a lot of them want to, but they can't because the time just isn't there. And it's such a big pile up that it's just too much to even think about. So
just from the questions that I get on a little YouTube channel, if I answered every one of them, I kid you not, it's an 8-hour-a-day job. Yeah. I can't. And that's just a little YouTube channel. So, I can imagine.
So think of it let's say you had 36,500 followers of some kind, combined. Actually, let's say combined all your social media, YouTube subscribers, everybody. Let's say you have 365,000 total.
Right.
If each one of those purple people, if each one of those purple people wrote you just once a year, that would be 1,000 messages a day. When you think of it that way, it's actually a lot. Yeah.
It really
so imagine getting 1,000 messages a day if each one of those people only contacted you once a year. Now, some won't contact you at all. Others are going to want to talk to you every day. So if you even averaged it out, even if it was just that, it's a lot to take on. So I think a lot of people, they don't really do the numbers, and they get very offended that somebody that has big numbers isn't writing them back. But they don't realize that it is an impossible task to take on. It's just too much. They can't. So at least if there's a meet and greet and they can chat for a minute or something, anything, but they are pulled out in so many directions and the time just isn't there. And the pile of
Keeps going.
Messages is just too much to take on. They wouldn't, it's like, okay, either I could play music or I could spend my entire life just answering messages. And
Exactly.
they have to make the sacrifice and say, I'm sorry, I'm a jerk, I can't answer your messages because I have to do what I'm called on to do. So I always like, there's been people that like, fans that would reach out and say, oh, I wrote to this person, he's such an ass, he didn't write me back. And then I would tell them that. I was like, well, how could he? Imagine having thousands of people writing to you every day, and he's constantly traveling and playing shows, and he's got to sleep, and he's got to eat, and he needs family time. Like, how is he supposed to be able to do that? It's not possible. These people, if they could, they would. That's the thing to keep in mind. And people shouldn't get offended if someone doesn't write you back, because they have to be able to live their life the way it's livable. And so that's my
I got to that point. I remember I had the first about 5,000 comments that came in. I answered every single one of them. Then I remember I remember getting to the point where it just dawned on me that I can't do this anymore. I can make videos and create content that people want to see, or I can just respond to comments. And I felt terrible. I felt guilty about that.
Yeah, you feel awful. You feel like you're really snubbing everybody.
For real.
You want to talk to everybody, but it is just impossible. You would need an army of clones to be sitting and doing it, and you wouldn't be able to do anything else. Yeah.
And I had a company approach me like 4 years ago that said, listen, we'll take over your social media. I'm like, what does that even mean? They said, we'll respond to all your questions. I said, I can't do that. I said, I have a relationship with these people. And they would smell that like that. They would know that it wasn't me. And it just,
you're better off not answering than have someone just answering with some bullshit, you know. It's like, hey, what's your favorite sauce of 2024? Thank you for your message. We appreciate your patronage.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Can't be. Yeah.
So we got some questions from people that are watching, but I got to ask you a question first, because this has been on my mind. Like, I think of I improve every day on guitar because I suck. So it's easy for me to improve every day because it doesn't take much. Every little bit's an improvement. But I wonder, at a guy your level, it's like you're like, honest to God, it's mind blowing. I spent hours today watching you play. And it just literally blows me away, especially when you play the fretless. I can't get my head around it. Are you still improving? Do you reach a point? How do you improve? What do you do to get better when you're at the level you're at? I don't get it.
We are all beginners. It doesn't matter how much you've done this and how much you've been doing this and how many techniques you've gotten down or this or that. We are all beginners because it is endless and limitless what we can learn and improve and continue. So on that infinite journey, we are always just beginners, all of us. So I'm always trying to practice and learn new things and try new things and experiment and just keep up with my own stupid songs that I could barely play anymore because I don't practice them enough because there's too many of them and I'm busy doing other stuff and life gets in the way and blah, 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 blah.
When you're not touring, how do you play every day just for fun? Do you sit down and play every day?
Lately, I've been spending more time just mixing and producing bands and doing that stuff. And the guitar will be arm's reach away and I'll be in here 10 hours and never touch it, thinking to myself the whole time, it's like, all right, now we're going to play some guitar. And then it's like, oh, wait, we need to do a tweak on this mix. Let's just do this. All right, let me take care of that. And then all the album stuff that, the album is coming out January 24th, my next record. And just, okay, the artist, all right, we just revised the art, check this, and, go Dropbox, download it, check the PDFs. All right, it's upside down. I got to make sure it's right. All right, let's put it into Photoshop, convert it to an image, turn it the other way. All right, comb through it. Any missing spaces, everything right, any misspellings, everything's good, anything weird, okay. Like, next thing you know, 10 hours pass, and yeah.
So you wear a lot of hats, dude. You're wearing them all.
Yeah, I do. Like, I have people helping with the album stuff, thankfully. But even still, it's like, you're part of it. Yeah, right. It's not just like, tell me when it's out, tell me when I have to get on stage. No, I am doing everything. Yeah, I am the record label. I have some wonderful people, Jason Leckberg and his team. They work with a lot of bands. I've called upon him to help me out with a lot of the things, just to take some of the load off, like just finding the right manufacturers for everything, because I'm doing some very special vinyl. It's yeah, it's two albums, 2 discs, vinyl gatefold, so it's opens up, full art everywhere. Each disc has full color sleeves, but the second disc on side 4, it's clear, the disc, and it has art on it.
No way.
And you can see through from the other side. So there's music on side 1, 2, and 3, and art on side 4.
On side 4.
So it's similar to like the Pink Floyd 50th anniversary UV pressing that they did of Dark Side of the Moon. So all of that. So finding the right manufacturer for that. And
when's the release date?
January 24th. And then for the CD, the CD, it's going to be just 1 disc, and also fold out art. And then there is instead of a stapled booklet, it folds out into like 4 times the size, like a square little poster. So art on one side and on the other side.
Very cool.
So finding the right manufacturer for that. And I'm doing cassette.
Shut
Why
up.
not? Yeah, so I'm doing cassette. So
I love it,
finding
man.
the right manufacturer.
I still have a huge cassette collection.
You got it. Good. So you're gonna have to get this one, definitely.
For sure. All right, so listen, Arwa is wonderful. She's terrific. She's the Arabian Bard. She said, "What's the most impactful show you have ever played?" Would it be the one at Madison Square Garden?
I would say, we're talking decades, so many thousands of shows, but the first one that always comes to mind, the most impactful, is you know what the Bridge School is?
No.
It's a school in, I think it's San Francisco, but like Northern California, and they help kids that have really serious physical disabilities and different challenges. And they do every year, they would do a concert for like all the kids. And so we did this show in 2012, and we were on stage, and then behind us was this big platform, and all the kids, with each one with one of their parents, were there and on the platform behind us. So I was just like ignoring the audience in front. I was playing to the kids and just taking their hand and having them strum the guitar for me as I'm holding the different chords and everything. And
that must have been so cool.
It's just, that like shows like that are meaningful. Those are the ones that matter. You could play in front of 100,000 people and you just see a sea of tiny little heads, and it sounds, impressive. It's like, wow, I played in front of this many people, this big festival. But it shows like the Bridge School, like that one, those are the ones that mean something.
That's so cool. I love that. What a great answer. All right. Brock Bandy asks, and I know the answer, but I want you to answer it. How did you come up with the name Bumblefoot?
Yeah.
This is great. I love this. This is so funny.
All right. My wife is a veterinarian. And years ago when she was in veterinary school and she was studying, and I'd be there and helping her study, one of the animal diseases, ulcerative pododermatitis, the nickname for it was Bumblefoot. And as soon as I learned that, I was like, that is so silly. And I just imagined this half-foot, half-bee thing, and I got all inspired, and I wrote a song called Bumblefoot about like a superhero. And then when I had my first album being released at a record deal on Shrapnel Records, it was a guitar-centric kind of record label, and put out a lot of instrumental guitar music, and put out my first album on there and called it The Adventures of Bumblefoot. And it had this bee foot thing flying overhead and burning buildings and dogs vomiting and all kinds of just random, weird, chaotic things going on. And I named every song after a different animal disease. It was Bumblefoot.
No way.
Yeah, just all the weird ones that I learned about or came across. Bumblefoot, Orf, Scrapey, Blue Tongue, Limberneck, Ick, Q Fever, Scrapey, Strangles, Fistulous Withers, Rinderpest, like all these different animal diseases. And so after that, so now it went from a song to an album. I was starting to play out more and had my band and everything, and the music was pretty wacky that we were doing. So Bumblefoot seemed like an appropriate name. Like we were doing things that was sort of sounded like somewhere between System of a Down, Chili Peppers, and Mr. Bungle, or like Zappa. Like it was pretty out there.
God, I love Zappa.
So name of the band was Bumblefoot, and I was the lead singer, and I was pretty much the front man of the band, writing songs and playing guitar and handling the production and doing everything, and started my own record label just to put out my own music, and I had distributors around the world and doing everything, and it just became a nickname over the years. So it went from a song to an album title to a band name to a nickname.
And to a label too. And to a sauce company. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that in just a second. But I have a couple more questions I want to get to. Here's the thing: I could keep you on for 6 hours talking about music, and I don't want to do that to you. But I got a few.
No, it's cool.
There's a couple great ones here. This is from Dizzy Dragon. He's the Chase the Heat historian. He has almost every video I've ever done documented, cataloged. He's amazing. And he asked, do you think becoming a professional has changed how you view music you consume? Did it change how you viewed the songs?
Very good.
Right?
I just wish I became a professional so I could answer that. So for me, it's more about when you're getting into music production and creating the music in the studio and all of that stuff. And when you know all the elements that go into it, you start hearing things differently. You start listening for the drum sounds and the reflections of the room. And it's like, oh, it's interesting that they use this. Oh, cool, how they pan this way. Oh, I wonder why they did that. Oh, like you start hearing all the things that make up the song instead of just the song.
Yeah. So like when I taste hot sauce, I'm tasting all the different flavor, the different ingredients instead of just the sauce itself.
Right. Instead of just going, tasty.
Exactly.
Like, it's like you see the Matrix, all the green stuff.
Right. Exactly. So listen, we only have a few more questions then we're going to move into hot sauce, but I got a couple good ones. This is a good one. I kind of know a little bit of it, but I'm curious. Balaki Anderson, we call him Balaki. What are some of your favorite gear, amps, pedals, guitars, etc.?
I'm going to answer that in a second. I'm just going to go back to what we were just talking about.
You bet.
So it changed the way I perceive songs, but not in a bad way. Like it didn't ruin it. If anything, you could appreciate the song on different levels now, because you could listen to it as a listener, and then you could listen to it where you can dissect it and hear all the elements in there and all the things, and you know what's going on in it. So it's almost like you could appreciate it in two different ways.
Yes, layered appreciation versus just superficial.
Yeah. It's like you have the surface enjoyment and the layers beneath you can enjoy as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I get that. That makes sense to me. That makes sense.
Yeah,
those are great.
Same with this stuff. So gear, my favorite guitars. I'm a little biased, but I would have to say this thing is pretty much everything I need out of a guitar. Everything that it just happened over time. Like I was playing more and more fretless guitar, and it got to the point that I was playing so much fretless that I really needed to be able to access it, or wanted to be able to access it whenever I could, so that I didn't have to just bust it out for a song here and there. And
right.
And also in case I want to do, things at the same time,
That's amazing.
Me being silly, but so this company, they're a boutique company out of France called Vigier, Vigier, named after the head of the company. That's his last name, Patrice Vigier. Wonderful guy. And I've been playing their guitars for 27 years now. I love them. I swear by them. This is.
How heavy is that?
They used to be very heavy. They figured out how to make them lighter, thankfully. After a few hours, you start maybe feeling it a little bit, but not too bad. It's not bad. It's doable.
Beautiful guitars. Now, is that your favorite? Because I see, is that your go-to guitar, the one you're holding?
Definitely.
Beautiful. Now you have, it looks like almost a thimble that you use.
Oh, yeah. So that's my little thing that I came up with because I was always a tinkerer and an experimenter. And so when I just wanted to be able to access additional notes on the neck, and I was like, all right, well, we are shortening the vibrating piece of string by pressing it against a metal fret, and it vibrates from that point to the end. So once we've run out of frets, it's like having a mobile fret that I keep on my finger so I can keep the notes going.
It's so cool.
And just get extra notes.
And when you're not using,
and play from both directions.
And you just stick it in the guitar. It's got a little magnet that holds it in there.
Yeah, magnetized hold, just keeps it there, and just grab it and play, put it back.
When you go on tour, how many guitars do you take?
Usually, I live dangerously, and I just bring one and hope for the best.
You've got to be kidding me. Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. That makes it easy. Now, what amps do you use?
Well, my amp of choice has always been Engel, E-N-G-L.
Engel.
German company. It's like it has the nice warm middle of a good old Marshall, and it has all the juice and the power of like a rectifier, like the two together. And it's a great amp. So always used Engels. But the main thing that I use where I really get all my sounds from is the Line 6 Helix pedal.
Really?
That is everything. And I have it dialed in where it's like a clone of my Engel amp and cabinet is modeled in there, and it sounds just like it. And I just have this configuration, this preset that I've created and variations of it and everything. And it's my sound. So most of the time I don't bring amps. I have this guitar, the Helix pedal, direct outs right into the sound system.
Right.
So like when I played Hellfest, 50,000 people, I'm using this guitar and that Helix pedal straight out into the big PA that everyone hears. When I'm doing a clinic for 20 people or something like that, this guitar, that Helix pedal into the PA system right there.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, it's very uniform. You know your sound's not going to change. That's beautiful.
Yeah, there's consistency, reliability, yeah, and it's lightweight, which is important when you're traveling. You need to keep the amount of things down, the amount of things that could get lost or get broken.
All right,
down to a minimum.
One more question, then we're going to move to some hot sauce questions. You ready?
Ready.
This comes from Heard Ya, because I heard ya. How did you meet Billy Sheehan and Mike Portnoy?
I don't even remember. How does everyone meet? Probably we were doing some kind of jam in LA, like during a NAMM convention, the big music gear conventions, and we would do a bunch of them. So I remember doing in like 2009, doing one with Ray Luzier from Korn and Billy on bass, and then with Mike and Billy. Then after that, remember, yeah, Eddie Trunk had his 30th anniversary celebration in New York, and he wanted a house band. So it ended up being me, Mike, and Billy being the house band. And then,
oh my God.
Yeah, so it was like we were sort of like the foundation of it. And then members of Kiss and Anthrax and all different people just joined us. We learned everybody's songs and all played together. And so there was that. Then at one point, I remember Billy was producing a band and had me lay a bunch of guitar solos for the songs. And then Mike Portnoy asked me if I would play on his kids' album. He had a band Next to None, his son. And just, yeah, like we were always just sort of around. And then one day, Mike sent me an email. He was like, hey, you know how we always talked about putting a band together? Well, I have this idea. It would be me, you, and Billy, Jeff Scott Soto on vocals, and Derek, my old keyboardist from Dream Theater, on keys. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. He's like, are you free in March to like jump in the studio and make an album? I was like, I actually am, yes. So we got together for a week and a half and in a big studio and just wrote and recorded and made the first Sons of Apollo album. And before that, Derek and I, like, we would send each other different ideas of just different riffs to throw in the hat that we could start with and pull it out and build into a song. But that's how we would do it. It's very organic. It's no different than when you're in high school and it's like, oh, that kid plays bass. Oh, that kid plays drums. I play guitar. It's like, hey, you guys want to jam in my garage? Sure. It's no different. It's just like the people in your circle and it's just that those people that were in high school, eventually they end up in bands that you know, and yeah. So at that point, they'll call it a supergroup if you're not in the garage anymore. But it's no different. It is no different. It's just a bunch of kids that all know each other for some reason and have crossed paths and say, hey, let's do something together. All right, cool. Yeah.
Well, I remember once I was struggling in college, my freshman year, playing something, and I said to a guy, his nickname was Marley. He was a great guy. I just said, man, I suck. And he said, man, you don't suck. This is what he said to me. He goes, there's no such thing as a bad guitarist, just inexperienced ones. So just get more experience.
There's that. Really, you only have to be good enough to play your own songs.
See, can I tell you something? Thank God you said that. I've written so much. I can play my songs in the dark, different, I never have a problem playing my own stuff ever. And I struggle like crazy playing other people's stuff.
Other people's stuff doesn't matter. You make your songs. Yeah, so
I love you,
as long as you can play your songs well, you're a damn good guitar player.
Well, you and I need to talk more often. All right, let's shift into high gear. Let's talk about hot sauce. What sparked your passion for hot sauce, and when did you become a chili head, Ron?
I was 12 years old, having a family get-together, and my older cousin Steve, he bet me $5 that I couldn't eat a hot pepper. It was like there was some big spread of all kinds of turkey and this and that and that, and there were hot peppers all around it, which by our standards, they weren't hot. They were like maybe just like a mild tinge of a kick of a cherry pepper of some kind that you just put on a turkey sandwich. But he bet me $5, and at 12 years old, I'm trying to save up to buy my next DiMarzio Super Distortion pickup to put into my guitar, and I was like, all right, I need $5. That's gonna help. That's the pickup fund. So I tried one. I was like, I like this. This is good. And that was where it started. So at 12 years old, eating a hot pepper and a kind of hottish pepper. It's silly calling it hot, but a non-bell pepper, let's say.
There you go.
And from there, it just built up, and it's like, hey, happy birthday. And they would give me a bottle of hot sauce, It's like all different combinations of flavors, Brie Sharp, grapefruit, habanero. It's like, wow, I didn't think of that. This works. I love this. Or like the Insanity collection, or, like Blair's stuff, or like whatever it is. And then it gets crazier and crazier. Like I remember being on tour, and I had this vial of oil, the Source, that 7 million.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would keep it with me all the time. And it reaches a point where half your fridge is bottles of hot sauce. And at that point, just like music, where you've consumed so much music and you have so many ideas that they start to rearrange and form their own things. And it's like, I got an idea here. What if we did this and this and this? So it was K-John's, connected with them. And I had a bunch of ideas for different sauces and flew out to them and got in the kitchen.
You have some really, really hot sauces.
Well, they're fantastic. And honestly, like, they deserve all the credit. I had ideas. I had flavor ideas, like, blueberry and this and that, or Yeah, but they were the ones that made it happen. Like we tried it and it's like, okay, the blueberry is just getting too mild when we cook it down. Let's try sour cherry. Ah, that pops good.
Right.
And yeah, so that's like Bumblicious. Like that's really, it's, you know, I had the idea, but they made it a reality.
Right.
The sauce, you know, just an all-purpose, everyday, mild, flavorful, just good, your morning eggs to anything you're gonna stick it on, anything you can think of where you might put a red sauce on there and you want something less simple and biting the way a lot of table sauces are, and something a little more complex and just adding a little more to your food. And then if you want to hurt people, Bumblefucked. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is a wicked hot sauce.
It's strong. It's just all pain. Like when you want to add heat to your food, like it takes such a little bit to go a long way that there's no flavor to really taste. Like there is a flavor in here, but you would have to like get a mouthful, and at that point, the heat level is so much that it's too much for most humans. So really, I think of it more as something that either you're gonna give to someone you really want to hurt, or if you like pain yourself, or if you just want to kick up mild sauces to medium,
right?
Or just add a little bit of heat to your food.
Chili or something.
Yes. Yeah, but yeah, I'll take a bowl of chili and I'll put 1-2 drops of this in there, and it just gives it that nice burn. You know, it just starts in the front, then the door opens in the back. You got that going. Then a minute and a half later, you're feeling it here, and life is good.
It sure is. Let me ask you this. First of all, how many sauces do you have in your lineup right now?
Right now, it used to be 6 when it was with K-John's. When they sold the company, and it's like, all right, I got to find my own manufacturer and labelers and everything. I narrowed it down to the 3 that people like the best, which were these 3.
I got you.
Very cool. You got.
All right, so
people love this one: cherry bourbon chipotle. Yeah, the Bumblicious.
Oh yeah, that's a great sauce. It is. I've tried them all; they're all good. I asked you about your process of writing music, coming up with a song, and you said one of the questions was tell me your process of creating a hot sauce. But you told me it can be a label, it can be an idea, a flavor profile, a certain pepper you like. I got you.
Yeah, and I have a long list of all these flavor ideas that I want to make happen that have been sitting for years. And every year passes, and it's like, the music keeps getting in the way of the hot sauce. I got to get this music thing out of the way so that I could finally just like get this done and add more sauces to the line.
I had an idea in a video. I was shooting a video 2 days ago. And I'm like 7 or 8 minutes into the video. It's only going to be like a 10 or 15-minute video, but I'm 7 or 8 minutes in, and I had this stroke of genius thought. I was like, so I grabbed a pen and wrote it down. And after this is over, you and I are going to talk. I have a brilliant idea that you might be interested in. It's really clever. Nobody's done it. It's clever as can be. And I think it would appeal to everybody.
All right, we'll talk.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's get another one here. What is the hottest pepper you've ever worked with, and do you ever cook with peppers?
I have, and one time we were doing it, and it was just this big frying pan, and they were in there, and the steam started coming up into the room.
That's called gas.
We didn't have a window open or anything, and it started hitting our eyes and
throat.
It was the throat, yes. That especially is just like that ache kind of like, yeah.
Everybody get out of that. Everybody get out quick.
We just aired out the house and waited for it to settle. But what have we done? Definitely Reapers. Trying to think. I mean, over the years, how many? Because a lot of times I would just get a bag of random psycho peppers. Anything from now, like X to Reapers to
Bulas.
Yeah. So,
Did you ever? Let me ask you a question. What's the worst cramp? Obviously, you've had cab cramps. You're a chili head. What's the worst cramps you've ever had from chilies? I'm sure it was from your sauce. I'm sure it was from your sauce.
I think the worst thing that would happen is if I had something too hot, too quick, and didn't pace it, just getting the hiccups, just getting those esophageal, boom, boom,
right?
All those things. But stomach-wise and ass-wise, I've done okay.
Wow.
Those have held up all right.
Your sauces have given me cramps, just so you know.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I don't eat it like a normal person would, so you'll have that.
Yeah, you definitely go towards like, testing the levels of like internal cyborg.
Well, you know what it is? I like pain. I mean, I don't like heartache or emotional pain or toothache or backache, but most physical pain, I can find something pleasurable at. I know it sounds jacked up, but it's the way it is.
You push the limits, and it's not the pain part, it is the protective part of the endorphins releasing and everything.
Yeah, that's pretty clever.
Yeah.
That's interesting, dude. All right, so I got a couple questions here. Bizzle says, Bizzle's one of my closest friends. I love Bizzle. Bizzle's one of the greatest inspirations I know. He's just a champion. And he asks, not a question really, but Johnny, tell him he needs to braid that goatee.
Let's do it. Let's braid it up. All right, let's get into 3 pieces, and it's all straggly and it's been tied up and everything, but yes. All right, we gotta.
Do you ever get sick of it, man? Because I'll tell you, sometimes it's like I get sick of it.
Braiding it, I get lazy. I do. I usually just save the braids for
like once a week, once every couple of days, if you do it.
I'm getting worse and worse with it. I'm just getting more and more. Maybe I'll do it for the next show.
I gotta tell you something, bro. I gotta tell you something amazing. For the first 6 or 7 years of the channel, every time I braid the goatee, it would always be starting more to one side than the other.
That's so annoying. Yeah.
I got the cure. You're going to love me. This is what you do. When you start, before you braid it, you get it to the middle, you put a rubber band right here, and you braid it below the rubber band. And when you're done, you snip the rubber band, and there you go. It's in the dead middle every time.
Genius.
I didn't come up with it, bro. So I saw a guy. I was sitting around. You know how I found it? I was sick of looking at it. I was looking at it one day. I was trying to get in the middle. I couldn't get it right. So I went to YouTube and said, how do I get my beard goatee in the middle? And I swear to God, I found a YouTube video that said, this is the beard life hack. So just do it. Before you braid it, just put a rubber band at the base, braid it below, and then just remove the rubber band.
It's so simple. Why did we never think of it?
I don't know. I felt like an adult when I saw it. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So you know what I did? I immediately made a video for my channel. I said, hey, for all you guys that have a goatee that you braid or a beard you braid, here's a life hack. It's brilliant.
There you go. What I learned today is
right. No kidding, man. I was 55 years old when I learned this. Bizzle, thank you so much for your for now we got him braided up properly. What is your preferred heat level? This is from the swear word, Brandon. What is your preferred heat level for pepper for daily consumption?
Oh, it depends on what I'm eating.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I asked that question wrong. Preferred heat level for what pepper for daily consumption? He's looking for what pepper?
For daily consumption, if I'm going to eat a pepper every day, I don't know. I might just wimp out and go for something really mild.
You know what you need to do?
Like a Fresno even, or Shishitos, or.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
I got a buddy who sends me packages every year, and once a year he'll send me a package, and instead of using packing peanuts, he fills the whole box with Shishitos. And it's amazing. I open up the first time he had it, he told me about it. I'm like, what's a Shishito? I don't know what that is. It sounds like a dog, like a fancy dog or something. And he said, no, man, it's this amazing pepper. You just black it in a pan with a little oil and salt and pepper.
So good.
So I said, I've never had it. I get a box, open up, and the box was this big, so it was just jammed full of Shishitos. I fell in love with them. It's now listen, of your sauces that you make, which one is your personal favorite?
Personal favorite might be Bumblicious.
Yeah, it's a good sauce. Do you take it with you when you travel? When you're on the road and you tour, do you take sauce with you? Usually.
I mean, it adds a lot of weight to the suitcase, but I bring as much as I can get away with. Yeah.
Gotcha.
This one is good. I mean, it depends on what I'm eating, really.
Right.
That's the main thing. It's if I'm having something meaty, I might go with Bumblicious. If I'm eating Mexican, Thai, Indian, what else? We can go on and on. Greek.
Right.
The
Yeah,
Bumblefoot. Just give it a
right. I know we kind of shifted from music to hot sauce, but James Collins Cares, one of my mods, has a terrific question. He asks, have you ever made a guitar riff that represents your passion for a hot sauce?
Ooh, that is an interesting question.
Right?
Have I made a riff like that's? I don't know. Like I feel like just passion. Like when you're passionate about things, it exudes in whatever you're doing. It's like. In fact, that brings me to something. Before I answer that, well, the answer is I'm not sure. I don't think so. Maybe, or I have but didn't realize it, and it's just because they're just interconnected. Because one person that's passionate about multiple things, they all sort of are connected in a way.
Yeah, they ripple and affect each other.
But I've thought about why it is that so many rock musicians and especially metal musicians love hot sauce.
I don't know.
And like I really gave this a lot of thought. Like, what is the connection? Now, metal is pretty much the most aggressive, intense music. Like, no other music riles people up to the point that they want to form a mosh pit.
Right.
With people they actually like. They want to hurt each other and think that this is a good thing. Metal does that.
You bet.
No other food will make your nose run, your eyes tear, your head sweat, make your heart pound. None of them will make you run around a room and want to drink a gallon of milk and do the same thing. Like no other food is as intense.
So it's almost like met the spirit of metal music in a bottle.
Pretty much. Like the thing that we enjoy, that pushing the level of intensity that we either give or receive. Those are the two things musically and food-wise that do that.
Right.
So it's for people that love that experience of being pushed to the limit or pushing people to the limit. They will eat hot sauce or make hot sauce. They will listen to metal music or they will make metal music.
But the
two very often go together.
There is a lot of musicians, metal, a lot of bands, not just metal. I mean, Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top.
Oh yeah.
There is a lot. He has great sauces, by the way.
Yeah.
But there's so many. The Offspring. There's a lot, man.
Yeah, what is that? Gringo Bandito sauce?
That's Dexter Hollins. Yep. And then you got Motley Crue's got their set.
Alice Cooper, Michael Anthony, Joe Perry from Aerosmith had
right.
For a minute, Zakk Wylde. I don't know if he still does.
Yeah, he did for a minute too. He did.
It was like a green relishy kind of thing, if I remember right. It was pretty good.
You're right though. There's a wicked crossover. There's a lot. It's the aggression and everything, just the whole kind of aggro, kind of thing.
It is just letting your spirit out of the cage, letting your energy out. A lot of people stay caged up. When it comes to metal music, you're letting it out. And it's the same with this. There you go. Perfect.
How good is that?
Like a mosh pit in your mouth. There you go. So
I love that.
There is a correlation. There's a connection. Have I ever sat down and said, what would be the musical equivalent of this hot sauce? I haven't done that, but I should. That's a really good idea.
I think that's clever as can be.
Yeah, that was a great question.
It sure was. If you have any more, throw them up there, guys. All right. So, what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about hot sauce and the spice community, spice world?
I don't know. I think if they watch the Simpsons episode, they got it right.
Right?
Good
Good answer. It's a good answer. All right. So
okay.
tell me about actually you sort of answered that one. How do you stay inspired to come up with new ideas for sauces? And is it the same sort of inspiration you draw on for music, or is it kind of different? Or
you're eating something and you're thinking of the flavors that would go with it, and then you're thinking, oh, I should make a hot sauce that has those. So
right.
It's food, and you think of what would go well with the food, what would be the right icing to perfect this cake,
Right.
and you just start thinking about, you start imagining what flavors would go, or maybe in theory not go, but a lot of those work when you combine things that you don't expect to go together, and it's like, wow. Yeah, bacon and vanilla ice cream and hot peppers.
Amen. There's some weird combos. You never know until you try it.
Yeah.
It's a fact. It's really funny. It was about 7 years ago before I ever put hot sauce on ice cream. And now if I have ice cream, but I don't have the right hot sauce for it, I won't eat it. I will not eat ice cream unless it's got hot sauce on it.
Interesting.
And it'll change you. It's so good. And you can use really piping hot stuff too. If it's fruit based and it's super, super hot, because the dairy offsets a lot of the heat and you just get the flavor. It's really, really good.
I was just thinking in my head as you were talking, I was thinking dark chocolate with some kind of like blueberry
or cherry
or just berry based sauce on there. That works. Definitely. You're getting sweetness from the ice cream, and you're getting the chocolate. And
it's so good. It's so good. I have I don't know if you've ever had Hellfire hot sauce. They make a hot sauce called Blueberry Hell. And I have never put that on food ever in my life. And I've gone through a lot of it. I've only used that sauce on ice cream. That's it.
Wow.
It's spectacular. It's such a good ice cream sauce. In fact, my hot sauce company, Chase Seed Hot Sauce, we have a sauce called Panango, which is pineapple mango reaper with key lime and key lemon. It's really, really good on hot sauce. But we're revamping our hot sauce company right now. I'm looking into doing some different things. So we've kind of taken a hiatus on the hot sauce. What's the most important lesson you've learned, both from music and from hot sauce?
Oh, pretty much that everything in life really boils down to people and relationships. And it doesn't matter if it's hot sauce or if it's music. When you're bonding with people and when it brings good people into your life, and when you make it so that it brings good people into your life, that's what matters.
Yeah, that's wonderful. When I was a kid, it took me a long time to grow up, Ron. When I was young, I went through this stage where I thought that the greatest things in life were stuff you could acquire, stuff you could buy.
That's the first half of your life. Yeah.
And then you realize, but it's so wonderful. I still know people my age who still think that the best things in life are stuff you can buy. And to me, man, I always say the thing that I value the most in my life are relationships and bonds and friendships. That's it. It really is. I mean, and that's one of the coolest things about this channel. I just thought I was going to start a channel and make videos and see what would happen. And every name you see in this chat are people I care deeply for. I know them all. They're like my flock. I know them, each one of them, and they know me. And it's like I didn't count on any of that. It's just a cool byproduct of it.
Exactly. When I started going to all these hot sauce festivals and things.
Aren't they great?
You start feeling like, all right, this is my hot sauce family. Like you see the people, the same people. And it's like, yeah.
There's a vibe. There's a very similar vibe. I used to be a Deadhead dude a long time ago. And you go to a Dead show, you'd see there'd be a teacher, a mechanic, a surgeon, a truck driver, a guy who's unemployed, whatever. And everybody's there. Everybody's wearing their tie-dye, and everybody has the exact same vibe there for the same reason. When you go to a chili show, a festival, same exact vibe. You have people from every walk of life. Everybody's got their hot sauce shirt on. Everybody's there to get burned. And it's a very similar vibe. It really, really is. Yeah. And I love that. It's like every time, like Vic Klinko. Man, every time I see Vic Klinko, I walk to a show. It's happened at so many shows, I can't count them all. He'll see me walking down and go, There's that handsome man. Bring it in. And he gives me a big hug, tells me he loves me. And it does. It feels like almost like a Pepper family reunion. Every one of them.
Yeah, Vic is a wonderful guy.
Isn't he great? He's hilarious. Imagine being Vic's wife, dude. They get together. He goes like, honey, imagine early on the first week or so, Wendy says to Vic, you bought 3 bottles of hot sauce this week. Are you getting a little crazy, getting carried away? No, fast forward 10 years. 12,000 bottles of hot sauce in his house.
Yeah.
Holy God, dude.
You've been? Have you gone to his?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Ron, it's done by country.
Yeah.
It's so spectacular. When you're there, you're almost like, is there a guide? It feels like you're in a museum. It's the most spectacular thing. You could easily spend 6 hours just looking at bottles.
Yeah, I was there a year ago. I went to visit what do you call it, the distributor, and went to High Point and visited Vic and Hot Shots, and so I got to see, like, for real, face to face with the walls of bottles everywhere, and it's.
Oh, so you have been there?
Yeah, last year.
I know you were there. Isn't it fantastic? Isn't it the coolest place?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, last time I talked to him, he's like, I figured out how I can get two more rows of bottles. So he's going to go up 2 more rows so he can put another couple thousand bottles in with what he's got.
What he needs to do is he needs to dig down the floor, keep lowering the floor because he can't raise the house to add more.
And the funny thing is, listen, if you look back, like I started my channel 8 years ago, this hot sauce community has changed so much in 8 years. It doesn't resemble what it was. Like when I started Chase the Heat, I swear to God, there was like maybe a dozen, maybe 2 dozen chili channels on YouTube, and that was it. Now there are just a million of them. So I think like he's going to keep acquiring sauces. Do you know that Vic's got in storage a duplicate of every one that he has in his house?
So he actually has like 24,000.
I know. Wendy is an absolute angel. I've said to him on countless times, dude, you don't screw up. Listen, you take care of that woman. She's good to you, man. Seriously.
He's the Noah of hot
right?
sauce. It's like
he is.
2 of every kind, and yeah.
It's fantastic. I had fun. It was crazy because my sauces are on his wall. Yours are. It's just fantastic. It's such a cool thing.
Yep, we made the wall.
Amen, right? The wall of fame. Can you tell us about any upcoming projects or collaborations you've got with music or hot sauce? You got anything in the works?
Let's see. Hot sauce, every year is the same, and I'm kicking myself by the end of the year. It's like, this was the year that I wanted to get more out. I wanted to start putting out the ones on the list, different flavors, and making that happen. And another year flew by. So I'm hoping next year that I'll be putting out some more hot sauces. I need to. It's been too damn long.
Well, every one of them is very good, dude. They're very good. Now, here's what happens. Anytime you get a sauce with somebody who's a big name, who's a name, like Steve-O's sauces. I don't know if you ever tried Steve-O sauces.
I haven't, but
okay. Yeah. I thought they were going to be like, okay, the guy, whatever, it's a sauce. You have no idea how good they are. They're amazing. And your sauces, when you see a celebrity so I'm thinking, okay, but they're spectacular sauces.
Yeah, it's cool because rarely is it, at least in the hot sauce world, where someone is just going to slap their name on a sauce. Like if someone is going to do hot sauce, usually they're into it and they care and they taste it and they want to make sure that it's something that's good.
Yeah. My very first collab I did was with Sam and Oliver's. There was a company that was around way back, and we did a sauce called Razorberry, and it was a Raspberry Reaper dessert sauce, and it was spectacular. We just did one run. I don't know how many bottles we made, but we sold out at the Dallas Zest Fest in like 2 hours. We sold out everything. And it was a really, really great sauce. But that was the only time I ever put my name on it. But I had my hand in on the production of it each step of the way. I told them what kind of flavor profiles, and we tried a few variations before we settled on it. But that was the first collab I did. It's been a crazy ride. I'm excited to talk to you about my idea. I think you're going to like it.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah,
it's crazy. It really is. And you know what? It's so simple. It's so simple. I think that's why I think no one's thought of it. It's weird. But the thing about it is I can't do it. I'm not sure if you can, but together, we can figure out somebody who can. It's the production of it that I'm going to have trouble with. But if we can nail it down, you'll hear it's brilliant. I'm patting myself on the back, dude. It's a good idea. It really is.
I'm very curious.
How do you balance the heat of your sauces with flavor and overall palatability?
Well, it all just depends. If you want a mild sauce, you go more flavor and less kick. And then you just work your way up from there. If you know, mild, medium, hot. And if you just want it to be really intense, you just up the level, the amount of hot stuff that you're putting in it. It's that simple. It's just, it's just.
What's your hot sauce? Do you have a schedule for your hot sauce this year? Are the festivals you may attend, or do you have an idea, or is it too hard to pin down?
I don't, and there's so many I wanted to go to this year that I missed. I didn't get to Zest Fest. I didn't even get to the New York. New
York is fantastic. Have you been to New York yet?
I went to it it must have been, God, what year was it? I've been to it. Yeah.
It's a great show.
I
love the New York show. Have you been to Albuquerque? The Fire.
I have.
That's a great show too, man. That's epic. That's like Epcot Village of chili festivals. That thing is huge, man. And it's 3 or 4 days. That's such a good show. I love that.
And there's that chili university. They study that's right around there, and yeah,
that's a pepper state, dude. They are all peppers all the time, man. They take that stuff really seriously. All right, so see if we can ask a couple more questions. Let's do this. Let's turn it over to anybody that may have some questions that's watching. See if I missed any. I may have missed a few. Oh, you know what? Do you have a really crazy do-it-yourself guitar collection that you've built up over the time? Where you built just a crapload of really odd. I know the foot guitar, which is fantastic. You don't have it there, do you?
If you go on to bumblefoot.com to the gear section, there's a tab that says guitars, and all my early guitars that I just see these like Frankenstein Island of Dr. Moreau, like these hideous things that never should have existed in nature. Let me find a few. I made some really weird guitars. I am not a guitar maker. That is for sure.
While you're looking for that, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to show you something. Hang on.
All right. Let me find some of my guitars that never should have been. All right. Yeah, I saw the picture that you had with the wig. So is that a Stromberg or a
No, it's a GOC. And it's obviously just a knockoff of the Strandberg.
Yeah.
But this one's got a flame maple neck. It's a 7-string. This has they're Fishman pickups. But it just here's the thing, man. I have a Gibson, two Gibson Les Pauls, a custom shop, and every time I touch a Gibson Les Paul, it reminds me of an ex-wife. I fight with it every time I touch it. Either it's tuning stability, it's 12 pounds. There's something every freaking time. And the minute I touch this, there's just no fight. It feels perfect. The neck is shaped perfect. You know how I got this? You're not going to believe it, man. I had a Strandberg that I traded for this. The Strandberg is $500 more. Trust me, I feel so bad for the guy that traded. Here's the crazy thing. He thinks he got the deal. This plays so much nicer to me than the Strandberg did. It was the setup on it is amazing, and it just sounds so good. But I could play this thing for 5 hours and never get tired of it. Because of the shape of the neck. You know, have you played a Strandberg?
I have.
You know that weird neck?
Well, the fan frets and the sort of shape behind it.
This is a modification of that. They ripped them off. It just is what it is. I don't know how they're not in court every 5 minutes because of this design. But so it's similar to the Strandberg with a neck, but a little different. And it's just, man, I wish I was with you to let you play with it. It's the most amazing guitar I've ever touched. I think if I got something like this when I was young, I'd be playing music professionally right now. I never would have put it down. When I had like my Les Paul, like my custom shop, dude, it's 11 pounds, 6 ounces. I don't know. You're a beast. You carry the double neck, but I mean, I would sit and play in my living room.
That thing is probably almost half of that.
Is it really?
Like, no, your guitar
Oh,
That's yours. Like it must be like half, like 6 pounds. 5 pounds.
The Strandberg was 4 pounds 5 ounces. How about that? I almost felt like I was going to break it. This is 5 pounds, but it's just it's
4 pounds 5 ounces. I've taken shits that weigh more than that. What the hell?
I would love to hear you play on this, just to see what it sounds like with somebody who's actually good playing it. But it's the most beautiful. This tuning stability. Let me tell you something. I'll tune it, and if I went away for 2 months. I came back, and you wouldn't believe how close it was. For 2 months, it doesn't ever go out of tune. I'll touch it once a week. I'll adjust it. It doesn't go out of tune. It's the most amazing guitar. I swear it's an amazing one. I love it.
That's great. Wow.
But it's not nearly as cool as your double neck.
So I will show you some of my awful guitars.
Let me see them.
Okay.
I read about that. I didn't see the collection, but I read that you have an astonishing collection of do-it-yourself guitars.
Let's see, how do we flip? Is it this?
There you go. Wow. Okay, look at that.
It's like
start off as a Les Paul
guitar body. The neck, the surface of the neck is all coins. It's like it started off as this.
Is that
like a Les Paul
copy? Right.
And then I covered it in like, my mom had this like fake fur coat, and I did that to it. And it has all pictures of, I don't know why, penguins. I put the bridge at like a 45-degree angle.
You kidding?
The weirdest thing.
Wow. Yeah, you did. Look at that.
So that is one. Let's see. What else? This was an Ibanez Artist that I etched all that stuff into it and just turned it into this monstrosity. This is why I say I definitely can't build guitars that I am not capable. Oh, so this was a Fender Stratocaster, and it wouldn't stay in tune, and it hummed like crazy, so much noise, and it just, so
what?
I did that to it.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
I should not be allowed near power tools.
Yeah, it's like you can do it, but should you?
No, you shouldn't.
Look at that. That's so cool, though. Is that a neck through? No.
So this one, what I did is I took a bass neck and I cut it in half at the 7th fret, and then refretted it to fit like around like the 12th fret and up, and put on the headstock of the bass guitar tuners, and just sunk in a little DiMarzio pickup and a bridge and wired it up.
So that's functional. It's not just a cool looking thing. It's functional.
Oh, it was functional. It was like an octave higher guitar.
Wow.
Weirdest thing.
Interesting.
So
that was almost like you kind of knew you were going to end up with a double neck when you saw that thing.
It was a matter of time.
It just was a matter of time. That was like a BC Rich.
So this is the Swiss cheese guitar. It was an Ibanez Roadstar, and I turned it into.
Oh, I've seen that one. I've seen the Swiss cheese guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know where I saw it, but I've seen it before. I love it.
So I've had a lot of wacky guitars. This is one that I didn't build. This is one that a friend of mine made. And then my little cousin, she was 5 years old. She asked me if she could paint the nails of it. I wasn't going to say no.
Right? That's pretty cool. How many guitars do you currently own, if I can ask?
Not that many, but like all the guitars I have are things that I've played. This is the one guitar that I didn't screw around with. It's a 89, 59 reissue Les Paul.
Beautiful.
And it's a nice one. This one is okay.
Let me ask you a question. What do you do about the damn G string? The last time I can't keep my G string in tune ever. I do any bend at all, and the G string's out of tune every single time I play it. I have a Les Paul custom shop. It's a nice one, and I have a just a standard Les Paul standard. But honestly, I can't keep. How I wrap it doesn't make any difference.
Have you tried anything? Like, I'm wondering if it's just sticking to the nut.
I've
and then
tried,
when you
yeah,
go
I've
to
used
pull it-
silicone. I know I've used
You've
silicone.
done all that?
Yeah. I, you know, here's the thing, man. It's a crappy design. The headstock's at an angle like that, too much of an angle. The strings do this instead of coming straight up. It's just to me, it's a bad design. And you know what the definition of insanity is? Picking something that sucks and sticking with it. I'm telling you, man, you know what? Listen, we're going to watch the downfall of Gibson. It's probably already happening, but they're not in touch with young players. There's no one in a band today, a new band, playing a Gibson. Nobody. I can't think of anybody.
I don't wish their demise.
I don't either, but they need to here's what they need to do. They need to stop selling guitars. Every guitar they sell is $5,000 or more. That's absurd. I think that's crazy.
Well, then you go to Epiphone.
Right. But you know what?
I've seen some decent, I've actually played some really good Epiphones.
I would listen, if I had to buy one or the other, I would absolutely buy an Epiphone before I bought a Gibson. I would. And that's a guy that owns 2 Gibsons. I'm serious. I used to have a Flying V 7-string that was gorgeous. It was a Epiphone. They only made it 1 year, 2001 or something. They only made it for 1 year. It was a 7-string Epiphone. Wow. And I got it for a song and dance, but it had the worst neck dive. I swear to God, Ron, I stand up and it was like gravity stricken. Like you can't imagine. It was just the neck was big and I couldn't play. You could not play it standing up. You can't. So I got rid of it. It was a shame too, because it was a collector's item. They only made them for 1 year. They didn't make that many, but I can't have a guitar. I can't really play.
Yeah.
I play standing up a lot, you know? All right, I just saw a good question from Brandon one more time. What is the wildest person you have interacted with in the music industry? This could be a good question.
There have been so many.
I bet.
My God. There's been a lot of interesting individuals, for sure.
I just know, knowing you the way I know you, you're so grounded and so calm and so deliberate and just chilled. I know, like, the rock and roll scene. It's like I can't imagine, because you're really a grounded dude. You are, man. You're solid. You got your act together.
I have been in many situations where I've been full-blown private pile. Yeah. There's only so much a human being can take before they lose their shit. Well,
I've read. Listen, if you just read some stories like the Crew, Motley Crue back in the day, or Ozzy, and really, you know what? There's 1,000 bands we never heard of that are just like that. I promise you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of the fringe benefits people think of being in a band, and I don't know, man.
I mean, so I'm trying to think, like, who has been the wildest? I don't know. For a lot of them, it's more about getting a good night's sleep and not getting sick, so that you can be at 100% for the rest of the tour. And
what percentage of guys do you think? What percentage of guys do you think party their skulls off compared to guys that just straight lace and keep it together?
I would say, from what I've seen, probably 80 to 90% seek out the good night's sleep. And maybe 10% will do some crazy stuff. It's more the fans that'll do crazy stuff. I remember one time backstage, some girl bit me on the stomach. And and drew blood. Like,
no way, like really big.
Like, yeah. Like, there's been all kinds of. I remember one person gave me a set of kangaroo testicles.
Well, that old chestnut, huh? I mean, who doesn't have a set of kangaroo balls? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you really need like another pair of those?
Wow.
Yeah, interesting things. Like, but you know what it is? I think it's people do things so that they'll be remembered.
I think that's probably right.
And so they do something really crazy, and yeah.
And we end up talking about them, like snorting a line of ants, something like that.
And then, 15 years later, you're talking about it because you remember. But most of the time, the musicians, did I have to get tetanus shots? It's you. Is it really her? Is that you?
It's the UK chili queen.
Hello. Oh, I did not get a tetanus shot. I probably should have.
You should have.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But there's like so many times, like so many things that happen on the road where you're just like, oh no, I can't worry about that. Like, we're only here for 24 hours, and then we're at the next place for 24 hours, and next place for 24 hours, and it's like, I'll worry about this when I get home. And if you're not dead by the time you get home, it's like, okay, I'm fine.
When you go on tour, how long are you out?
Sometimes it would be for 3 months at a time. There's been times where it's just so much touring where like you're not really home at any point. You're just sort of stopping off in between, like all the runs of
clothes, taking a shower.
Yeah, which is not good, because living without being grounded, it's easy for things to become very Lord of the Flies, you know?
Yeah, I bet.
Like everyone just devolves quickly.
I can imagine.
Everybody. I hung out with Ted Nugent? I've hung out with his nephew, and I've done a lot of stuff with Derek St. Holmes, who's a wonderful guy, phenomenal singer, great player, just a great guy, and he loves hot sauce. He is a hot sauce dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. There is a correlation there. This is another one of my mods. He's a terrific guy. He asked, in Jersey, there's an old 1960s looking diner, and all the metal bands would eat at it. Do you happen to know of it? I stumbled upon it one night with Megadeth.
I wonder which one, because I'm in Jersey and I've eaten at plenty of diners, especially Central Jersey. I wonder which one it is. All right, let's jump on the interwebs and okay. New Jersey Diner Megadeth. Best diners reveal. This is going to be a tough one.
All right, hang on. New Jersey Diner hosting musical acts. Do they play there or just hang out there?
I'm assuming that they just go there and eat after a show at like 4 a.m. or something, and you just. Yeah, because that used to be the thing all the time, especially like in the 80s, playing all the New York bars and everything, and stay until the place shuts down, and then we would all go to Perkins or just some diner, and right before the Lincoln Tunnel. Okay, behind the Holiday Inn, just before the Lincoln Tunnel. I don't know, but I've probably eaten there.
Probably been there, man.
What I could do is I could. Maps. Okay. Google Maps. All right. We're going to go diner searching.
I'm still on a road trip.
Google Maps. All right. And okay. Come on, you slow ass thing. We're going to find this diner.
We're going to find this diner. Okay. Have you ever woken up in a city and forgot which city you were in just because the schedule was so crazy?
I think so, yeah.
I
think I have. Usually what happens on tours, you don't know what day of the week it is.
Right.
Like, it's today Tuesday, it's Friday. Okay. All right, there's the Lincoln. Okay. So.
It's a man of action right here, folks.
We're going to find this.
Okay.
Let me look up. Diners.
While you're looking at that, Bizzle also wants to know if you have a favorite song that you like to rip on stage, like your go-to favorite tune.
Oh, God, a favorite song? There's too many songs. I don't know. Is it the Ferry Diner?
Could it be the Ferry Diner, Tracy?
I'm not sure.
Diners are almost a thing of the past, man. There's very few left. It's been years, so maybe gone now. It looks like a 1960s silver mobile home. There's your diner. I love diners, man.
I wonder if it's that. Okay, so let's see. We got to look for a Holiday Inn. Okay. We are wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, but we have somebody watching in Jersey that's like needs to go to this diner. Needs to.
I'm just real curious. All right, let's look up Holiday Inn.
There you go. Holiday Inn near the Lincoln Tunnel.
Oh my
I'm
God.
looking for another good question. We didn't even cover half of the questions that I made for you.
Oh no. We're gonna have to do a round 2.
Yeah, I'd love to if you're up for it. After we log off, you stay with me because you and I are going to talk for a second.
Alrighty. And I should really, really stop doing this. This is very inappropriate to be like searching Google for a holiday.
Listen, we're loving seeing a
on
man
everybody's
of action.
time.
We're seeing a man of action right now. You got to be kidding me. You're the man who put man back in manager.
I need to know. All right, here's a Holiday Inn. It's very. Oh wait. Oh, here's one right by the water, but that one is by the Holland Tunnel.
We could be searching for a diner that's no longer in business. It's been a while. UK Chili Queen wants to know: will you come to Gettysburg in October?
Oh, that's right. You got the Gettysburg thing. I don't know. I know she told me about that. Hopefully.
I'll be there for that one.
Very cool. I'd like to. It's been too long.
Yeah, every single time. You know, everybody says, oh, man, the first thing that happened, the first morning at a chili festival, you start seeing all your friends. Everybody knows everybody. And it's just the coolest thing in the world, man. I love them. I really do. They're fun.
Yeah.
All right, so what's your next? Okay. Do you have any tour coming up? What's your next tour date for music?
The next tour, the next show I'm doing, this is a crazy one. It's in Jakarta. January 18th, Indonesia.
Forget about it. I'll be there. Cool. I was going to be there anyway.
Yeah. It's at this 85,000 seat stadium. It's going to be me, Derek, and Dino from Whom Gods Destroy. It's Nuno and Gary, the guitarist and singer from Extreme. Yeah. And it's going to be Billy and Eric, the bassist and singer of Mr. Big, and John Waite. Remember him?
No way.
Yeah. I am missing you at all. Yeah.
No way.
And we're all playing together with this local, can't really call them local, they are the biggest rock band of Indonesia for like 40 years. Dewa 19, they're called. And we're doing this whole big collaborative show together at this stadium in January. So that's going to be the next show.
The band of Indonesia for 4 decades. They're like the Beatles for them.
They are.
That's awesome. That's so cool. All right. Well, listen, man, I want to thank you for being here. We've talked a lot. Would you come back for a second at part 2? Because I have so many more questions to ask.
No, absolutely.
We're going to do that then. Hey, I want to thank everybody that's tuned in tonight. Thank you for your questions. You guys are awesome. You know I love you. I appreciate you taking it. You know, there's a million things you could have done tonight, but you came to watch us. So I appreciate that. Yeah, you guys have a wonderful night. You stay here, Ron. We're going to talk for a bit. I love you guys. Have a great night. Please check out Ron. All of it. So, what socials you have? You have Instagram?
Everything. Just look up anything Bumblefoot. You'll find me.
Yep. And check his socials out. And his new album coming out January 24th. So I'll be looking for that. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I love you. See you guys on Tuesday for the next After the Burn, and videos back tomorrow. I'm Johnny Scoville. That's my friend Ron. This was Chase the Heat After the Burn.